Ready to explore some deep spiritual concepts.
Yeah.
We're taking a deep dive today into the world of spiritual initiation.
Our guide for this journey is an interview with Marcelo Martorelli.
It's basically like a roadmap from being a novice to becoming an enlightened being.
We'll be uncovering the secrets of consciousness and self-discovery.
And what exactly makes our soul tick?
You know what's really fascinating about Martorelli's approach? He doesn't just throw us into the deep end.
Right.
He lays out two paths: discipleship and initiation. And to really grasp those, we need to first understand the different levels of evolution we go through to access the deeper realities within.
Okay, so let's break down these levels. Martorelli starts with the neophyte.
Right.
It's like he's painting this picture of the everyday person, stuck in the daily grind.
Absolutely. That's where most of us begin.
Work, societal expectations.
Yeah.
Would you say that resonates?
Absolutely. It's that starting point. But then there's a shift.
Okay.
It's what Martorelli calls the aspirant. Now, this is someone who's sensing that there's something more to life.
Yeah.
They start to question the status quo.
They start exploring, like dipping their toes in.
Exactly.
Like that, dipping their toes in. It's like this restlessness, like something's missing,
Yeah,
but you're not quite sure what it is.
you got it.
Maybe you're trying different spiritual practices, but you're not fully committed yet.
Precisely. That deeper commitment is the mark of the next stage, the disciple. The seeker is not just dabbling anymore.
They're all in.
They are pursuing self-knowledge.
Right.
Moving beyond the surface-level techniques and really digging deep.
So it's not just a hobby at this point.
No, it becomes a way of life.
Yeah.
And as they progress, they become a disciple of light.
Okay.
They've made a connection with their soul.
Yeah.
And they start experiencing that guidance more clearly.
It's like tuning into their intuition.
Exactly. Those inner nudges that we so often ignore.
Right.
It's about learning to trust that inner wisdom.
This is where it gets really interesting because they're not relying on external sources for answers anymore.
Right. They're going within.
They're tapping into that inner compass.
Exactly. And ultimately that brings them to the level of the accepted disciple.
Okay.
They're recognized by their inner master and prepared for initiation.
So they've shown up. They've done the work.
They've done the work, exactly. And the doors to transformation swing wide open.
So we have this roadmap of the different stages. But for our listener, how do they awaken their own consciousness? How do they move beyond just understanding this to actually experiencing it?
Well, that's where Martorelli gets really practical. He gives us two keys. And the first key is self-observation.
Okay.
This is the foundation of everything. It's about being aware of your thoughts, your feelings, your words, your actions.
And he uses a simple but powerful exercise to illustrate this.
He does.
He asks us to mentally say, "Hola, Marcelo,"
Yeah.
and notice the observer and the observed.
Right. There are two parts to us.
Like, whoa, there's two parts of me here.
It's such a brilliant way to point out that duality, the thinking mind and the awareness that's witnessing those thoughts.
And I imagine that awareness is what helps us break free from those automatic patterns that can keep us feeling stuck.
Absolutely. And the second key is awareness of purpose.
Okay.
He's a big believer in defining a clear dream for yourself and then taking action to make it happen.
This makes me think about the power of visualization.
Yes.
Setting your intentions, taking those steps, you can influence reality.
Absolutely. And that's where the concept of futurables comes in. These are the possible futures shaped by the choices that we make.
So like our life is a choose-your-own-adventure book.
It is.
Every decision leads us down a different path.
Every decision, exactly.
Would you say then that Martorelli sees synchronicities as those signposts along the way?
You got it. Those meaningful coincidences. He views those as messages from nature.
Like we're being nudged in the right direction.
You're in the flow. Things are falling into place.
So instead of just reacting to life, we're actually co-creating it with the universe.
Exactly.
But this path isn't all sunshine and rainbows, is it? Martorelli talks about the challenges, the need for love, forgiveness.
It's where she really goes deep. He challenges that surface-level understanding of love as just a feeling.
Yeah.
He sees it as a consciousness, a state of being, of unity.
It's like love is a verb and not just a noun.
It is. It requires action, intention, constant cultivation.
And he introduces this idea of the pyramid of love and wisdom.
Yes.
This framework of 12 values showing us the progression from respect to unity, to loyalty and hope.
It's like we're building a foundation.
I love that image of a pyramid,
Yes.
Solid foundation for deeper, more authentic relationships.
Exactly. But here's the thing. even with the best of intentions, there's something Martorelli calls the inertia of the disciple. It's that tendency to fall back into old patterns and lose that self-awareness that we've been working so hard to cultivate.
It's like hitting the snooze button on our spiritual growth.
It is. We know we should be doing the work, but it's so easy to slip back into autopilot.
Exactly.
And that's why consistent self-observation and having a clear sense of purpose are so important.
To keep us anchored to the path.
Like anchors, exactly.
It's not one and done.
No.
We're constantly checking in, course correcting, recommitting to that journey.
You got it. And eventually we move beyond discipleship and onto the path of initiation. And that's where things get even more interesting.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. But before we dive into the specifics of initiation, let's pause here for a moment and let our listener absorb all this.
Take a moment to reflect. Where do you see yourself on this path?
Yeah. What resonates with you most deeply?
We'll continue our exploration in the next part of our deep dive, where we'll unlock those mysteries of initiation and its transformative power. Welcome back to our deep dive into spiritual initiation.
We were talking about the steps towards initiation before we paused.
Right, those exciting and sometimes challenging steps.
Yeah.
Each one offers a unique kind of freedom and these critical moments that can really transform us.
You mentioned that Martorelli considers the third initiation, the transfiguration, to be like the real deal.
Yes.
In the eyes of the masters. Why is this one so special? What makes it stand out from the others?
Well, the third initiation is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
It's like you're finally stepping out of the shadows of your mind and into the full light of your true self. You're transcending the limits of your thinking mind. And you're experiencing a direct connection to the divine source.
So it's not just about watching our thoughts come and go,
Yeah.
but understanding their essence.
Exactly. Martorelli describes it as finally understanding where thought itself comes from.
Wow, that's pretty deep.
It is. It's like you're seeing through the illusion of being a separate self.
Right.
And you realize we're all interconnected. We're part of this grand tapestry.
Yeah.
And here's the key. It's not about erasing your thoughts.
Okay.
It's about understanding their true nature.
So we're not aiming to become emotionless robots.
No.
Just more aware of how our thoughts shape our reality.
Exactly. It gives you the power to choose your thoughts rather than being ruled by them.
Uh-huh.
So you shift from reacting to life to actively creating it.
So this is where free will comes in.
Exactly.
We're not just products of our past.
Right.
We have this power to choose.
You have the power. That's the magic of that third initiation.
Yeah.
You realize you are not your thoughts. You're the awareness behind them.
Okay.
It's a level of freedom that most people don't even realize they have.
I love how Martorelli uses the story of Jesus' transfiguration on the mountain to illustrate this.
It is a powerful image.
It is. Can you unpack that a bit more for our listeners?
Sure. So in the Bible, Jesus takes his disciples up a mountain.
Yeah.
And he's transfigured before them, radiating this light and glory.
Right.
And Martorelli interprets this as a symbolic representation of the third initiation, that moment when individual consciousness merges with the divine.
And you mentioned that the disciples were asleep during the transfiguration?
They were.
Unable to fully witness it. What's the meaning behind that?
Well, it highlights that this level of consciousness is beyond the grasp of the ordinary mind.
Okay.
It requires a transformation, a letting go of the ego and its limitations.
So it's not something you can achieve through intellectual understanding or willpower?
It's about surrender, allowing a higher power to work through you.
So it's a merging of the human and the divine.
Exactly. A recognition that we are already one with the source, even if our ego is trying to convince us otherwise.
And that's why it's considered that true initiation.
Yes. It's a complete game changer.
Okay. So now we come to the fourth initiation, which Martorelli compares to the crucifixion.
Yes.
This seems like a bit of a paradox.
Yeah.
How can the most painful experience of Jesus' life represent this ultimate liberation?
It's a symbol of the ego's death and the soul's liberation.
Right.
So the crucifixion represents that final surrender, that dissolution of the illusion that we are separate.
And Martorelli explains that this is the moment when that Christ consciousness was released and made available to all humanity.
Yes.
Can you break that down a bit further?
Well, he describes it as a cosmic event where the resonance of the sacrifice awakened what he calls the Christ cell within every human being.
Okay.
It's like this incredible act of love opened up a new possibility for all of us.
So this Christ consciousness, this divine spark, is within Each of us.
It is.
Waiting to be activated.
Yeah.
It's not about worshiping a figure from the past, but recognizing that potential within ourselves.
Exactly. It's part of our spiritual inheritance, that
Yeah.
potential for enlightenment that we all carry.
But it's not automatic, right?
Yeah.
We have to choose to awaken it.
We do. It requires a commitment. And all those earlier stages that we talked about, that self-observation, the awareness of purpose.
It all leads up to this.
That's the preparation, the cultivation of love and forgiveness.
It all weaves together. Each stage laying the foundation for the next.
It does.
Leading us toward that ultimate liberation. It's represented by that fourth initiation.
It's like a spiral staircase. You're constantly ascending, but you keep returning to the same themes on deeper levels.
And this journey isn't just about individual liberation, is it?
Yeah.
There's a ripple effect for the collective.
Absolutely. As more people awaken to their true nature, their light contributes to a collective illumination.
It's like each awakened soul adds to the brightness of the world.
It does.
So it's not just about escaping the world and its problems. It's about bringing that light back into the world to transform it.
Exactly.
It's from within.
Yeah.
This brings us to reincarnation and liberation from this cycle of birth and death. What does Martorelli have to say about those?
He makes a distinction between what he calls return, which is reincarnation, and liberation.
Yeah.
So reincarnation is seen as necessary for the soul to gain experience and evolve.
Like we're going to school.
It is. You're learning lessons.
Growing through multiple lifetimes.
Yes. And liberation is like graduating.
You've transcended the need.
You've completed the cycle.
For further incarnations.
Yes.
Okay.
Reaching a level of consciousness where you no longer need to return.
And how does this relate to the path of initiation?
Well, Martorelli suggests that through those initiations, particularly the fourth, we can actually transcend that need. So the soul has learned its lessons.
Yeah.
It's fulfilled its purpose. It's merged.
It's complete.
There's no need to repeat the cycle anymore.
So it's not about escaping the physical world, but evolving beyond those limitations.
Exactly. It's about realizing our true nature as spiritual beings having a human experience.
Incredibly profound. But it raises some questions for me. If the soul no longer needs to reincarnate, what happens to it?
That is a big question.
It is.
And one that he doesn't explicitly answer. He leaves it open, inviting us to explore for ourselves.
So he's giving us the tools and the framework, but ultimately it's up to us to discover our own truth.
That's the beauty of it. He's encouraging us to become active participants in our own spiritual evolution, to keep asking questions.
To walk our own path.
Exactly. It's not about blindly accepting dogma. It's about direct experience, inner knowing.
This feels like a good place to pause. Let these ideas sink in. We've explored this intricate path.
Take some time to reflect on what we've talked about.
Yeah, what stands out to you? What questions are bubbling up inside?
When we return, we'll explore how all of this can apply to our everyday lives.
So we're back, ready to bring these lofty spiritual ideas down to earth.
Right.
We've talked about the different stages, initiations, the soul's journey, but how does this all apply to our everyday lives?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
It's easy to get lost in the more mystical elements of spiritual teachings.
Yeah.
But Martorelli's point is that true initiation isn't just about those extraordinary experiences.
Right.
Or even accumulating knowledge.
It's about embodying these principles.
It is. In your actions, in your relationships, even in the mundane parts of life.
So it's not enough to just talk the talk.
No. You
Yeah.
gotta walk the walk.
We got to walk the walk.
He says that two powerful areas where we can see this reflected is in our relationship with money and with sexuality.
Oh, that's interesting. Why those two specifically?
Well, he says that these are two areas where the ego tends to have the strongest grip.
Okay.
Think about it. Our relationship with money often reveals our deepest fears,
Yeah.
insecurities, our attachment to security, to control.
And sexuality can be such a driving force,
It is.
operating beneath the surface.
Often unconsciously, fueled by desires and impulses.
Right.
And he suggests that someone who is truly initiated has mastered these areas.
Okay.
And he doesn't mean denying them,
Right.
but transforming the relationship.
So it's not about becoming a monk,
Yeah.
swearing off all material possessions and pleasures.
No, it's about using these energies consciously,
Yeah.
creatively, aligning them with your higher purpose.
So making those financial decisions from abundance and generosity
Exactly.
rather than scarcity and fear, or approaching sexuality with reverence and awareness, seeing it as a sacred energy Fueling connection.
Fueling growth.
It's like we're taking back those reins from the ego.
You are.
And choosing to live from that more holistic place.
Yeah.
I can see how that would be an indicator of progress on this path.
And another hallmark of initiation that he emphasizes is service.
Oh.
As you progress, you naturally develop a desire to serve others,
Right.
to share the gifts, to share the insights that you've received.
So it's not about seeking recognition or rewards.
Yeah.
It's that pure joy of giving,
It is.
contributing to something larger than ourselves.
Recognizing that interconnection and knowing your actions can have a ripple effect,
Yeah.
creating positive change.
You know, one thing I've noticed is Martorelli keeps returning to the importance of the heart.
He does.
What is it about the heart that's so central to this journey?
Well, he sees the heart as more than just a physical organ.
Yeah.
It's the seat of wisdom, that bridge between the human and the divine.
He even encourages us to observe life through our heart. What does that even mean?
Well, it's about moving beyond those limitations of the rational mind
Okay.
and tapping into that deeper knowing, feeling your way through life, trusting your intuition, letting compassion be your guide.
So it's not about abandoning logic.
Yeah.
It's about balancing it with wisdom
It is integrating all those aspects, the
Right.
physical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual.
to create a life that is both meaningful and fulfilling.
Exactly.
This has been an incredible journey,
It has.
a true deep dive into the mysteries of spiritual initiation.
We've covered a lot.
We have. From discipleship to the power of those initiations and how these teachings apply to our lives.
Remember, this is just the beginning,
Right.
a starting point. The real journey happens within,
It does.
through self-observation, commitment, a willingness to embrace the unknown.
And as Martorelli says, it's through the heart that we truly awaken
We do.
to our potential, both as individuals and as a collective.
So keep observing life through that lens of love and compassion.
And may your journey be filled with light and transformation.
Because ultimately, the most important question is not what does this all mean,
Right.
but what does it mean to you?
Right.